Okay, so if you're working on sustainability, you've probably hit this wall. Your big goals, they're great on paper, but then they meet the real world, your supply chain, your partners, and suddenly things get complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a struggle we see all the time. Organizations try to push their internal aims outwards, but it often gets stuck. The standard approach is usually the big companies, the focal firms, trying to sort of dictate terms to suppliers.
Right, the traditional compliance model, checking boxes.
Exactly. And our mission here in this deep dive is really to look at the research based on survey data from 127 sustainability professionals and deep interviews with 18 leaders to see how some are actually moving past that, how they're actively reshaping those power dynamics between organizations.
So just telling partners what to do, that classic power over approach, it's just not cutting it for real deep sustainability changes.
Well, it tends to lead to, minimum effort, just doing enough to pass. What the research really highlights this is the aha moment, maybe, is that genuine transformation comes from changing the actual dynamics. And it seems to happen through three main ways: tech transparency, collaborative governance, and building capability networks.
Okay, let's dig into that. The first one, technological transparency, actually came out as the strongest predictor in the study for getting everyone integrated across boundaries.
That's right. The beta value was quite high, 0.41 overall. Things like, say, blockchain for traceability. They give everyone the same view of what's happening.
But how does that act as an equalizer? Because tech often feels like it could just be more top-down control.
That's the key question, isn't it? The research showed it works best, significantly better, in fact, for the suppliers. Their integration boost was much stronger, like 0.53 compared to only 0.29 for the dominant firms.
So nearly double the impact for the smaller players.
Yeah. And it seems to function as an equalizer, not just surveillance, if, and this is a big if, it's designed collaboratively. And crucially, the information has to flow both ways. Bidirectional transparency.
Okay, so shared visibility, not just one-way reporting.
Exactly. When that happens, the interview showed the conversations shift. It stops being about coercive checks and becomes more about solving problems together because everyone's looking at the same data. Less power over, more collaborative problem solving.
Right, so information symmetry changes the conversation. Now, what about the structure of making decisions? That leads us to the second mechanism, collaborative governance.
Correct. This is about making balanced power official, institutionalizing it. Think multi-stakeholder committees, shared decision-making processes that actually involve external partners.
And does that work the same everywhere?
Interestingly, no. The research found it had a stronger positive effect in service sectors beta around 0.41 compared to manufacturing, which was lower, about 0.28.
Huh. Why do you think that is?
Well, it suggests context really matters. Maybe service sectors inherently rely a bit more on relationship quality. Manufacturing might have more rigid, established operational divides that are harder to bridge with shared governance. It likely requires more deliberate effort there.
That makes intuitive sense.
Good.
Okay, the final piece you mentioned, capability building networks. How does that fit in?
This one is about distributing expertise, training programs, sharing knowledge, that kind of thing. If you think about it, knowledge is power, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So these networks directly tackle power imbalances that come from, well, some partners just not having the resources or the know-how to implement sustainable practices. And again, the positive impact on integration was stronger for suppliers, around 0.44, than for the focal firms at 0.31. It empowers them.
So it addresses that fundamental imbalance, who knows what, who can afford to act.
Precisely.
Okay, so bringing it all together for, someone listening who's trying to make this happen, it sounds like you can't just focus on one thing. You need a strategy with maybe three parts.
That's what the synthesis suggests. Real systemic change seems to need this combination. Digital tools, but designed for that two-way visibility. Formal structures for shared governance, and investing in ways to build a capacity, specifically empowering those less powerful players in your network.
It's about intentionally designing for balanced power, not just hoping it happens.
Exactly. And maybe the final thought here is, this research hints that these power relationships aren't fixed. They can evolve. If companies genuinely commit to shared value, to building capabilities together, they might shift from that old power over dynamic
towards achieving things collectively, a power with approach.
Precisely. So the question for you listening is, which relationships in your own value chain might actually be ready or could be made ready for that kind of shift? Where could you start building power with?